Well, welcome to another edition of Darren's Tips. I guess that's the word for today. And actually, so I was talking to my youngest son, and he was like, Dad, you got to do a shout out. And he was like, I listen to and I watch all these cool gamers that are streamers or whatever the term is, and this is what you need to do. So, Darren, this is for you. Yo, it's your boy Darren coming at you with the tips. So there you go, D. That's for you. And some of you might look at my shirt today and go, check, honey, look at his shirt. Look at that thing. Oh my God, what is he thinking wearing that? Or someone else might be saying, I can't believe we let him into the club dressed like that. Or some of you might be saying, hey, you know what? I would like to wear that shirt. That's kind of cool. Looks pretty comfortable. Maybe he's going on the Lido deck. Or some of you might say, you know what? Darren is old enough to figure out what he's going to wear, and I'm sure there's a reason why he's wearing that shirt. So, anyway, I want to talk with you today about TA. No, some of you that I know are thinking something else. It's not that. It's called transactional analysis. And what it is, well, I'll explain it. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever said something to a child, a loved one, a family member that you could hear your parents say to you when you were a kid and like, oh my goodness, I just sounded like my mom. I just sounded like my dad. That's transactional analysis, alive and in person. And this is probably going to be a two-part episode. So I just want to let you know there's a lot of information to talk about. And if you understand this, this will change your life. I know it sounds like an infomercial, but there is no sale at the end. I promise you that. This will change your life, right? And so transactional analysis was developed by a guy named Dr. Byrne in the 60s. It was big in the 60s. A lot of things are big in the 60s. But let's talk a little bit about it. So there's three tapes in our heads. There's a parent tape, an adult tape, and a child tape. And the parent tape and the child tape shut off when you're about 11 years old. So let's start with the parent tape. There's two types of parent tapes. So the first is, well, let me ask you a question. So I do all these trainings. I've been doing them for years. For corporations, for individuals, it doesn't really matter. I always ask this question. What are some messages you heard from your parents that you heard the first 9 to 11 years of your life? And this is what I get. Money doesn't grow on trees. Children should be seen and not heard. If I told you once, I told you 1,000 times. Depending on economy of scale, might be 100 times. I don't know. I told you all these times, right? They might say something like, I've heard this before. This is horrible. You are a mistake. Or I brought you into this world. I could just as easily take you out. Now, I don't ask people good messages, bad messages. I say, what are some messages? You see, there's two parent tapes. There's critical parent and there's nurturing parent. Critical parent, well, some of the messages I told you that before. Children should be seen and not heard. What am I made of money? It's because I said so. Do as I say, not as I do. Those sorts of things. Kind of critical. Some are more critical than others. And our parents did the best they could with what they had. I'm not blaming my parents for anything. I'm just giving you a perspective. Giving you a perspective on parenting. And I will tell you, when I was in fourth grade, I had a really good baseball game. And for those that you know where it is, we're playing at Linwood's. And my mom would always go to the games and we would walk home. And Tracy Holland, I apologize from the bottom of my heart, Tracy. Tracy Holland came up to me to talk to me. And either she was a girl and she was icky, or I was embarrassed about talking to a girl because I was shy. I'm not sure which one it was, but it was certainly something that I was standoffish. So when we left, my mom proceeded to lecture me all the way home. And you know where I live? It's a long walk when you're being lectured. And you're hoping for red and yellow lights. You're hoping for just being able to walk as quickly as possible. My mom was not a very fast walker. It was a very long walk. And she proceeded to tell me, do you think you're better than other people? You know better than other people and no people are better than you. So that little girl was being kind and you were being rude. And you need to treat everybody with respect, kindness, and care. I tell you, that message I learned from my mom that day has carried over today. I often talk to people at grocery stores, and if you've been a meal with me for business, you know I talk to the wait staff. Thank you so much for your service, really appreciate it. I know that there's other places where you could be right now. We're so happy that you're here, right? We have those sorts of conversations. That's one thing I learned from my mom. Very kind of nurturing, kind of critical, but nevertheless. My dad. My dad did the best he could with what he had. And so one time in 5th grade, some of you remember this, Corey Teal is pitching, may rest his soul, and Mike Dawson, my dear friend, is catching, and I'm on deck waiting to hit. So I went down to pick up a bat, and there's a foul ball that shattered my cheekbone. It made such a noise that some of the parents were crying or praying, but I didn't realize they were crying about me because I was clueless. I remember walking, as I walked by people, the parents were freaked out. As I walked by people, my dad says to me, you know what, it's probably nothing. We're going to take a little precautionary x-ray and you'll probably be back out soon. I'm like, okay, Dad. As I was walking, in front of me, in front of our car, there was another car, and I looked in the side mirror, and my eye showed up probably 5 seconds before the rest of my body. My eye was swollen way out to here, and I started crying because I saw what it looked like, and I was like, this looks bad. And my dad said, I'll never forget it, son, there's reasons in life to cry and reasons not to cry, and this is not a reason to cry. Well, my dad did the best he could with what he had, but that was kind of critical. I was crying, don't cry, son. I ended up being in the hospital for a while. It was a big deal. Matter of fact, they were looking at doing plastic surgery on my face. Now, maybe that would have been better. I don't know. Nevertheless, critical parent messages, right? Critical parent. They're not very kind. They mean well sometimes, they say, but they can hurt, right? Critical parent. Then you've got nurturing parent. Nurturing parent is, you know what, I love you, I believe in you, this is what I would have done, that makes sense to me, you're doing great, rock on, whatever it is. Nurturing parent messages. You know, I had a client, and she said to me, I don't have a nurturing bone in my body. What am I supposed to do? I've been physically, emotionally, sexually abused growing up. It's a horrible, horrible experience. What am I supposed to do? And I said, well, watch TV shows like, I don't know, Father Knows Best. Leave It to Beaver, where the parents were actually very nurturing with their children. Not a lot of TV shows, this was back in the day, because a lot of TV shows, parents were made to look like the fool. Not good role models, right? So watch these shows, then find someone that's nurturing and pretend to be that person. So this person said, I'm going to emulate what you do because you're very nurturing. I'm like, okay. My clients used to say, we need to get those bracelets, WWDD, what would Darren do? I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but nevertheless, nurturing parent. Now, what does this have to do with sales or networking or leadership? 70% of your selling, networking, leadership should come from your nurturing parent tape. So if someone comes to you, and you're managing them or leading them, and they say, this is what I've got going on, you want to say, hey, tell me about that. I would have done the same thing. That makes sense to me. Just like a nurturing parent would do. Just like a nurturing parent would do. Instead of critical parent tapes, sometimes you hear these in selling. What were you thinking? Why did you go with her? What was up with that company? You have screws loose, or the price goes up tomorrow. Right? Act now, right now, you know? Very critical parent messages. Or, my favorite, insurance people. What happens if you die tomorrow? What's going to happen to your family, right? Critical parent. 0% of your selling or networking should come from critical parent. And I'll explain that probably tomorrow, but 0%, right? That's the parent tape. Nurturing or critical. And the nice thing about those tapes is if you just think, what would a nurturing person do? And in sales, we're going to talk later about uncovering pain because people buy emotionally, they justify those decisions intellectually. So what can you do to uncover pain? When you uncover pain and someone tells you something that's horrible, you don't want to say, wow, that sucks to be you, or I can't believe you did that. You want to say, I hear that a lot. I would have done the same thing. When I'm nurturing, they will give me more information which will assist me in working with them, right? So that's the parent tape. Now you've got the child tape. You've got natural child, which is fun-loving, the one that likes to tell jokes, the one in, growing up would make the snow angels if you lived, where there was snow, the one that was the cut-up. The problem with that is you don't know and I don't know your sense of humor. And so therefore I may say something that's inappropriate. And if I say something inappropriate, then the deal is off. Remember, I make you feel not okay. The only way you can feel better about yourself is to make me feel worse, which we talked about earlier in another episode, right? So if you give me a parent tape, I give you natural child, that's okay from that perspective. If I come in and I start giving you child, like making fun and telling jokes, I don't know your sense of humor. I tell my clients, your child doesn't come out until they become a client, but not with a prospect, because you don't understand where they're coming from. Okay, so that's natural child. You got rebellious child. That's the one that creates all sorts of challenges, gets in trouble. You don't want to have that in networking, leadership, or sales call. 0. Just like natural child, 0. Then you've got adapted. Adapted is the one that's manipulative. You don't want any of that in a sales call, a networking call, a leadership call. The manipulative one that gets what he or she wants, not a good place. And then you got my favorite, and I'll be perfectly honest, I probably emulated this a lot growing up. It's called Little Professor. It's the cutesy natural child that can also turn on that little adapted child. I happen to have one son. Darren, this is a shout out to you. You know who you are. You've actually even said that. Dad, my little professor works really well in some cases, right? Doesn't work with me. I said, I find it repulsive and annoying, I told him one day. And my 2 oldest kids are like, yeah, Dad, tell him. And my youngest one goes, but Dad, it works, right? Little professor, cutesy, also can manipulate, not a good place in networking and in leadership and in sales. Now, when they become your clients, when you have a relationship, then your sense of humor can come out because you know that person. You know you're not going to offend. I mean, some of you will get this joke. When I was in college and playing baseball, my teammates spray painted my helmet and put lefty on the back. Now, that's funny because we had a relationship. Conversely, I was at a networking event and a person who's running this organization, who I was very good friends with the predecessor, and they were clients of mine, but the new person is new, and he walks up and shakes my left arm and says, nice to meet you. Now, if you don't know this, I don't have a left hand. And he started laughing, and I said, I know you find that pretty funny, and I appreciate sense of humor, but you have to earn the right for the sense of humor, and you haven't earned that right. I don't even know who you are. That person, I don't want anything to do with that organization after that. And it wasn't until after that person left that I came back to that organization, right? I vote with my feet. I felt not okay. I had a conversation with that person, and I was done, right? And then, so that's child. 0% of any of your selling, networking, leadership should come from your child tape when you're developing relationships, right? And then the last one is adult. The adult is the analytical, logical, data-driven tape. And 30% of your selling should come from that. It's the only tape that's still playing today. The parent tape and the child tape shut off when you're 11 years old. This serves as a referee between the parent and the child tape. The adult says, you know what, that doesn't work anymore. My parents told me never to talk to strangers. Well, how can you be in business and not talk to strangers at a networking event? So sorry, I can't talk to you. Sorry, can't do it. My parents also told me never talk about money because it's rude. How can you run a business when you don't know how much people have to invest in your services? You see, my adult tape says, you know what, that doesn't fly anymore. That doesn't fly. So, 3 tapes. Parent tape. Critical, 0%. There's no reason to be critical. Nurturing, 70%. And we'll talk about the distribution of why that's important tomorrow. The child tape, 0% natural. Fun-loving, doesn't matter. Rebellious, 0. Adapted, 0. Little professor, although near and dear to my heart and really helped me quite a bit, 0. No place for it in leadership and in sales and in networking, right? And then 30% is the analytical, logical tape, the adult tape, the only one that goes today. Maybe you've heard this before. People buy emotionally, they justify their decisions intellectually. So when we're saying is people buy emotionally, what we're really saying is people buy with their child, and they justify those decisions with their adult. So tomorrow we'll spend more time on how that breaks down and why that's important. I will tell you though, if you think about it, I'll give you one example of the child tape. If you ever watch any reality shows, they're all over reality shows. Survivor, so-and-so upsets some person, so someone pees on the rice. You know what? You're not going to be able to eat. Too bad. Or Dancing with the star is crying right before the commercial. I can't do this. I hate you. And they won't come out of the bathroom. Maybe you've seen this. But when they come back from the commercial, they nail that performance, don't they? Right? You see the child tape everywhere. Sporting events, when we go back to sporting events, you'll see it. Sports bars, you'll see it. People are screaming at a piece of plastic. I know, I've been there. So, adult, parent, child. Tomorrow we'll dive deeper into it and see how that relates to our relationships in sales, leadership, and just in living. So towards that end, if you like this, please hit like, please hit share. If you want to go to my YouTube channel, you can see all the videos that I've covered so far. And excited, still getting these amazing comments from you all, private messages. Please keep them coming and share it with those that you think would benefit from it. So until tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you then. Wishing you good selling, good networking, good living. Have yourselves a great day. Thank you so much, and look forward to catching you later. Bye for now.